Hello and welcome back to somebody on the rest and to another edition of AEW Dynamite Out of 10, following off the back of a shocking Revelation pay-per-view, and we had a lot going on this week's show. Darby Allin and Gabe Kidd hope to settle their issues in a coffin match. Storm and Shafir battled again, no holds barred. Will Ospreay had a return to action against Blake Christian, and that kicked us off. Blake Christian mocked Ospreay throughout this match, while trying to kick at his surgically repaired neck. However, the aerial assassin responded with confidence and no fear, popping back out repeatedly. When Christian tried a hidden blade, Ospreay responded with a pair of hidden blades for the win. He called out Mox, who arrived with a swagger. Ospreay almost caught him with a Tiger Drive 98, but Pac attacked and locked the aerial assassin in the brutalizer. Security pulled Pac away, but once Ospreay recovered, he ran at the bastard. The brawl headed back and transitioned right into the next match, the Bang Bang Gang versus the Death Riders. A fun sprint, primarily one-sided, to show that Ospreay's back and ready to roll again. It seems that he could already feel bumping just 6 months after surgery, which is a credit to him. Regardless, he looks as good as ever and already showed his fire on the mic. Christian was close to enhancing talent, but he did his job well, and hopefully we can see more of him. It's hard to imagine how Ospreay v Mox doesn't steal the show at Dynasty. But on to that match between the Death Riders and the Bang Bang Gang. The Bang Bang Gang came out a while after security was breaking up the brawl that was directed Ospreay towards Pac. They headed to the ring to brawl with Mox and Yuta right away. Garcia distracted Juice until Gunn pulled him off the apron. Juice nearly knocked out Yuta with a right hand and powerbomb for a near fall. The Continental Champ got back into the fight just in time for Yuta to drive onto Juice, followed by a paradigm shift away. It's a fun contest, far more competitive than the Open. The result was obvious since the Bang Bang Gang could really win on Dynamite, so it's a good way to allow the spotlight on the top show while keeping up the momentum of Mox. The Death Riders are in odd spots because Ospreay's coming for them. That's probably why the team in this match was the most hated Death Rider, trying to regain some crowd hate. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Moving on into the coffin match between Darby and Gabe Kidd. They met in the parking lot and the Daredevil answered by nearly running him over. Allin threw him into the car's truck, then flipped it, causing a car crash that left War Ready unconscious. Allin used the crate to roll Kidd to the ring, where he stopped him in a straitjacket. Kidd bit him into the Daredevil to fight back, but Allin had too strong an advantage. After a pair of coffin drops, he set up Allin for a tope COSD to send Kidd into the coffin and close the lid. Afterwards, he took the mic, promising he was after MJF and would keep moving at this wild pace until he got the world title. It's going to be a polarising match, promising, that it was brutal and fairly one-sided, but the way it was structured was solid and a definitive end to this rivalry. Kidd found himself outmatched by Allen's freak and was overwhelmed by the contest. He would need to go back to the drawing board with the dogs to regroup. Meanwhile, Allin made it clear why he should be considered the threat to the salt of the earth sooner rather than later. With Brody King, Bandido, Kevin Knight and Hangman Page taken out of the run, and Allin, could definitely be in the mix for the world title. Overall, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. In a Revolution promo, Kenny Omega challenged Swerve to a second match where the winner will become the number one contender for the world title. And Omega answered in the ring saying he would only put the opportunity on the line if Omega would defend his own EVP position as well. This was a great promo, but the crowd was terrible for the moment. There was some what chants and he had to pause to draw out proper boos. It's hard to blame the Mogul for this, as he always finds ways to draw the right reactions out of them by the end. However, it did hurt what was a strong challenge. Swerve was a heel with EVP power. It would be a fascinating dynamic. It did not always work for the Elite, but the Mogul was already showing he has a strong storytelling focus to his actions. It would make sense for him to use that power, not to just protect himself, but pull in others as he starts his heel run. As we then moved on to Speedball versus Mark Davis, and these two men hit hard and fast throughout. The power of Davis was on full display, even lifting Speedball up the rungs of the ring with ease. However, Bailey's speed kept him in the fight, surviving the BT bomb and Collis Falls, then turned it around with a time adventure and Ultimate Western to win. It was easily the best match of the night. Bayless and Bailey were flying around the ring and delivering action throughout. These are two men that wrestle like they need to prove themselves with each performance, and this was the kind of match that they should get consistently on TV. Speedball seems to declare his intention to challenge MJF soon, so it makes sense that he would win, even if his single victories would have been limited since he arrived in AEW, but I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. As we then moved on to No Holds Barred for the Shafir and Shirakawa. It was supposed to be a rematch from Revolution, but someone attacked the timeless one and Mina agreed to take the place. This was an extreme early and often focusing on how much hatred these women are putting forward. Mina went for a corkscrew splash over the ropes, but Marina turned it into mother's milk. The timeless loved one poked the problem in the eye to escape. They fall through the apron where they both went through a table. As Mina recovered, the Venus grabbed the champagne bottle and blasted it over the head of the problem, followed by the Uriken and the Storm Zero to the win. Sloppy and more painful for both competitors because of it. Some of the spots didn't go to plan and the two struggled. However, the home stretch and surprise ranked this considerably higher. In particular, after taking multiple tough losses, Mina got a good win. This should be the last time they fight due to their chemistry issues, but it was a good statement. Femina. Hopefully she can start picking up a few wins. All signs point to that being Ronda Rousey attacker, but yeah, we'll have to see where it goes. 5 out of 10. Moving on into the main event, the Young Bucks and Jungle Jack versus the Don Callis family. The action was slower than usual, especially for the Bucks to start, who were still struggling after a loss to FTR. The pace turned up as first Rookie and Trent saved Okada from a glass jaw from Perry. The family isolated the scapegoat, but eventually the Bucks got the hot tag. They rolled over the family, sending Okada running until all 3 men were locked in submissions. While the family got control back, it only took one more reversal, followed by a BTE trigger and a glass jaw for the victory. Afterwards, the Bucks promised to rebound from a disappointing, embarrassing loss in front of their family at the pay-per-view before Cope and Cage arrived. The Roadstar Superstar made clear they also had a personal interest in hurting FTR, especially for what happened to Beth. The Patriarch, though, were more focused on earning money and building his prestige. Cope revealed that FTR vs Cage and Cope was the first match confirmed for Dynasty. They arrived in response, and after both teams in the ring shut down, Stokely, Dax and Cash tried to attack where quickly sending packing while Cage and Cote held the tag titles. Exciting pure action that once again proved the Bucks don't miss. It was also a letdown though in terms of strong follow-up for Aewrevolution. This didn't feel like a true main event match, as the family, even with the Rainmaker, didn't come off as a legitimate dramatic threat throughout. The goal was to set up the post-match promo, a solid continuation of the Revolution opener, allowing the Young Bucks and Cage and Cope to speak. It's weird though by AEW standards to end the show with such a long promo, especially one that ultimately only partially involved the main event. As a whole, the vibe was off, even while wrestling was strong. It led to a fairly sloppy finish and a bit flatter than usual, so I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Overall, Dynamite this week gets a 4 out of 10 from me. It was clear AEW was short-staffed for Dynamite, which felt like a bad excuse given how much talent they got. Still, the feeling was real. Will Ospreay's return match was one-sided, understandably, but most of the matches that followed were also one-sided. There was not as much usual drama delivered in the ring, and the crowd was pretty flat. By the end of the night, Dynamite came out as the night to forget, never quite finding the energy that made Revolution special on Sunday. Luckily, AEW sets a rebound quickly with a big match between Omega and Swerve next week. That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe. Follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.